Students, see, in the last video we studied about law of conservation of matter, isn't it? In measurement of matter. Now see, let us start this law of constant proportion. In 1974, the French scientist J. L. Proust stated the law of constant proportion as the proportion by weight of the constituent element in the fixed samples of a compound is fixed. Okay, now see, this French scientist, okay, yes, J.L. Proust. So what did he state? He stated the law of constant proportion. Now in this law of constant proportion, what did he state? He stated that the proportion by weight of the constituent elements in the various samples of a compound is fixed. Okay, so the proportion, okay, in a compound, that is the proportion of what? The proportion by weight of the constituent elements. Okay, the weight of the constituent element is going to be fixed. You take any compound, okay, yes, you take any compound, what is going to happen? The constituent of weight is going to remain same. Okay, yes, now see, example, the proportion by weight of hydrogen and oxygen in water is 1 is to 8. Okay, so the proportion which is there, if you take H2O, okay, so if you take H2O, see, yes, the proportion is going to remain same, that is it is going to be in the form of 1 is to 8. Okay, so this is not going to change. So this means that 9 grams of water is formed by chemical combination of 1 gram hydrogen and 8 grams of oxygen. So see how much? 1 gram, see, I'll show you, 1 gram of hydrogen, okay, yes, plus 8 grams of oxygen, right, yes, 8 grams of 1 gram of hydrogen plus 8 grams of oxygen is going to form 9 grams of water. You understand? Yes. So 1 gram of hydrogen plus 8 grams of oxygen is going to form 9 grams of water. Yes. Similarly, the proportion by weight of carbon and oxygen in carbon dioxide. Okay. Yes. If you take carbon, oh, wait, I'll show you. See. Yes, carbon, okay, plus oxygen, the proportion of weight is going to be 3 is to 8. Okay, yes, 3 is to 8. So 3 is to 8. Okay, so for example, if you want 44 grams of carbon dioxide to be formed, okay, yes, if you want 44 grams of carbon dioxide to be formed, then you will have to take 12 grams of carbon, okay, yes, 12 grams of carbon plus 32 grams of oxygen. That time 12 plus 32 is going to form 44 grams of carbon dioxide. Okay, see, hope you understood this. Now see, 12 grams of carbon and 32 grams of oxygen is going to form how much? 44 grams of carbon dioxide. Now see the proportion, Okay, 12 is to 32. Yes, is going to be how much? 3 is to 8, isn't it? Yes, 3 is to 8. If you divide this, okay, 12 is to 32. You're going to divide by 4, isn't it? 4 3s are 12 and 4 8s are 32. So the proportion 3 is to 8 is going to remain constant in carbon dioxide. Okay, now see an introduction to scientist Antoine Lavoisier. That is, he was there from 1743 to 1794. Now this, he was a French scientist. Okay, this Antoine, he was a French scientist, father of modern chemistry. So we call him as father of modern chemistry. Substantial contribution in the fields of chemistry, biology and economics. So he has done a lot of contribution in the fields of chemistry, biology, okay, yes, chemistry, biology and economics. So in all these fields he has worked a lot and he has given a lot of contributions in this fields. Okay, and that is why we call him as father of modern chemistry. Now see nomenclature of oxygen and hydrogen. So what all work he has done? See nomenclature of oxygen and hydrogen, then showed that matter combines with oxygen during combustion. So when you burn anything, okay, that time, okay, he said, that is, he showed that the matter, any matter you take, it's going to combine with oxygen while it is burning. During combustion means what? When it is burning. Now he was the first to use accurate weighing techniques to weigh reactants and products in a chemical reaction. Now he was the one who used accurate, means he could weigh accurately. Okay, he used such techniques to weigh reactants and products. Discovered that water is made up of hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, so he was the one who discovered that H2O, that is water, it is made up of hydrogen and oxygen. Assigned systematic names to the compounds. Okay, so he gave a systematic name to the compounds. Example, see sulfuric acid, sulfates, sulfides. So he was the one who gave such names to the compounds. Then author of the first book on modern chemistry. So he was the first that scientist, okay, to write a book on modern chemistry. Then he studied the elements such as oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, phosphorus, mercury, zinc and sulfur. Okay, so he was the one who studied about these elements. Which elements? Oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, phosphorus, mercury, zinc and sulfur. Then first writer of the law of conservation of mass. Okay, so he was the one, okay, who said that the matter is, that is the mass is conserved during a chemical reaction. So in the last video we studied about the law of conservation of mass, isn't it? Okay. Now, verification of the law of constant proportion. Many compounds can be made by different methods. For example, two samples of compound copper oxide, okay, were obtained. Now, one by decomposition of copper carbonate, that is CuCO3, and another by decomposition of copper nitrate, that is CuNO3 twice. From each of these samples, a mass of 8 grams of copper oxide was taken and each was treated independently with hydrogen gas. Both gave 6.4 grams copper and 1.8 grams water. Let us see how this is a verification of the law of constant proportion. Now see, the law of constant, he gave the law of constant proportion, right? But when you define any law, when anyone is going to declare anything, there should be some verification process for that. Okay, only when it is verified, then only it is accepted. Now see, what did he do? See, many compounds, if you take any, just like when you solve sums, some sums have that is more than one method to solve it, right? Just like that, many compounds, they can be prepared from that is different methods. Now see, one example they took, okay, they took two samples of the compound copper oxide, okay, were obtained, one by decomposition of copper carbonate. So this copper oxide which is there, it was obtained by that is by taking two samples. Okay, two samples of the compound copper oxide were obtained, one by decomposition of copper carbonate. So how this copper oxide was obtained? One method, by the decomposition of this copper carbonate, okay, CuCO3. CuCO3, okay, it was decomposed, and another was decomposition of copper nitrate, that is CuNO3. Okay, so from these two methods, same compound copper oxide was obtained. See, once again let me tell you, this copper oxide which is there, okay, yes, see, this copper oxide which is there, it was obtained by two methods, one by decomposition of copper carbonate and another decomposition of copper nitrate. When they got this copper oxide from these two, okay, from each of these samples, a mass of 8 grams of copper oxide was taken and each was treated independently with hydrogen gas. So what was done? See, let me tell you, 8 grams, from both the methods, from decomposition of copper carbonate and decomposition of copper nitrate, what was obtained? Copper oxide was obtained, right? Yes, so 8 grams of copper oxide from both the samples were taken, and then what was done? It was treated independently with hydrogen gas. Okay, so 8 grams of copper oxide was taken from, which was obtained from decomposition of copper carbonate, and see, copper oxide from decomposition of copper nitrate. So from both the samples 8 grams was taken, okay, and independently these two samples of copper oxide, 8 grams of copper oxide, it was treated with hydrogen gas. Now both gave 6.4 grams copper and 1.8 grams water. So let us see how this is a verification. Now let us see, okay, how this can be said that this is the verification of law of constant proportion. Now see, the reaction of copper oxide with hydrogen yielded two known substances, namely compound water and the element copper, isn't it? So these two substances, copper also which was obtained and water also, right? So the reaction of copper oxide, how did you obtain this copper and water? When you treated copper oxide with water, right? So when copper oxide reacted with hydrogen, that time you got copper and water. Now see, it is known that in the compound water, okay, H2O, the elements hydrogen and oxygen are in the proportion 1:8 by weight, isn't it? So you know this, that see, Now see H2O, when you take, okay, you know that it is in the proportion 1:8, right? Yes. Now see, this means that, okay, uh, in 9 grams water, there are 8 grams of the element oxygen. Correct now? Yes. If you take 9 grams of water, okay, you know it is present in the ratio 1:8, right? So to obtain 9 grams of water, okay, 8 grams, okay, should be oxygen and 1 gram should be hydrogen. Yes, now? Now see, so this means that in 9 grams of water, how much of oxygen is there? 8 grams of oxygen and 1 gram of hydrogen. Therefore, 1.8 grams water contain, right? Yes. So if 9 grams, see, if 9 grams, okay, yes, if 9 grams of what water contains 8 grams of oxygen, yes, 8 grams of oxygen, yes, then see, it means that 8 grams, okay, now see, therefore 1.8 grams of water, how much it contains? Yes, it contains 8 into 1.8 by 9, correct? Yes, because you know 9 grams of water, see, 9 grams of water contains how much? 8 grams of oxygen, right? Right? Yes, 9 grams of water contains 8 grams of oxygen. So if you take 1.8 grams of water, how much of oxygen it contains? So it is going to be 1.8 cross multiplication 1.8 into 8 by 9. So, okay, that is equal to 1.6 grams of oxygen. So, this oxygen has come from 8 grams of copper oxide. It means that 8 grams of both the samples of copper oxide contained 6.4 grams of copper and 1.6 grams of oxygen. Okay, so because you know 1.8 grams of water, okay, it contains 1.6 grams of oxygen, right? Therefore, okay, this oxygen, okay, it has come from, see, this oxygen has come from 8 grams of copper oxide, right? Yes. So 8 grams of both the samples of copper oxide contains how much of copper? 6.4 grams of copper and see 1.6 grams of oxygen. And the proportion by weight of copper and oxygen in it is 6.4 is to 1.6. That is 4 is to 1. So copper and oxygen, how much it is? 4 is to 1. So thus the experiment showed that the proportion by weight of the constituent elements in different samples of a compound is going to be constant. Now that is why this experiment, what it is going to tell you, that the experiment, okay, this experiment is telling you that the proportion by weight of the constituent elements means the proportion which is there, okay, it's not going to change. The proportion is always going to remain same. Okay, if you take any compound, in a compound the proportion of the elements, okay, of that is the proportion of weight of the elements is going to remain constant. So now let us see what the expected proportion by weight of the constituent elements of copper oxide would be from its known molecular formula, cupric oxide. Okay, now see, the expected proportion by weight of the constituent elements. If you take copper oxide, okay, so now if you take copper oxide, okay, yes, let us find out, okay, the expected proportion by weight of the constituent element copper and oxygen, okay. So see, to find out this, we need to use the known atomic masses of the elements. Now you will have to use what? The known atomic mass, okay. So copper's atomic mass is how much? 63.5, and oxygen is how much? 16, correct? Yes, this means that the proportion by weight of the constituents elements copper and oxygen in the compound, okay, is 63.5 is to 16, okay. So 63.5 is to 16. Okay, yes, now see, that is approximately equal to 4, okay, 63.5 is to 16, okay, yes. So you saw the atomic mass of copper, okay, is 63.5, and that of, see, oxygen, it is 16, okay. Now after you divide, simplify, okay, you are going to get 3.968 is to 1, okay. So this 3.9, okay, it is approximately equal to 4 is to 1. So the experimental value of proportion by weight of the constituent elements matched with the expected proportion calculated from the molecular formula. So this proportion which is expected, okay, this was calculated how? With the molecular formula. Thus the law of constant proportion is verified. Now let us see this law of constant proportion. I am sure you will understand the concept of this by seeing this video.
Or the law of definite proportions. They're the same thing. The law was first put forth in the year 1797 by a French chemist called Joseph Proust, and hence is also referred to as the Proust's law. What does the law state? The law states that in a chemical substance, elements are always in a fixed proportion by mass. Now, what does this mean? It's not straightforward to comprehend the statement at the first glance. Remember the example of chocolate milk that we considered while studying the first law? In that example, we saw that when we have to make double or triple the amount of chocolate milk, all we have to do is use the proportionate amount of the individual ingredients. Wait, did I say proportionate amount? What does that mean? It means that when we have to make the drink for 10 people instead of 5, we just have to take double the amount of ingredients, right? Anything more or less would result in change of taste. Similarly, in any chemical substance, the elements present are always in a fixed proportion by mass. So let us take the example of elements A and B giving us the compound C. Now, if we observe just one single unit of the compound C, then we can notice that it has 2 atoms of element A and 3 atoms of element B. Is it true for all the units making up the compound C? Yes, it means that even if one atom from any of these units is removed or added, then it can no longer be called compound C. It will change to something different. So if the number of atoms is fixed, then the mass will also be constant, right? Absolutely. The best example to study this is that of ammonia. If we decompose ammonia by any means, say by extreme heat or some other way, then we get the nitrogen and hydrogen atoms in the same proportions by mass. So let's say we take 17 grams of ammonia. If we decompose it, then we will get 14 grams of nitrogen and 3 grams of hydrogen. So can we say nitrogen and hydrogen are present in ammonia in a constant ratio of 14 to 3? Even if we decompose ammonia in any other way, the ratio of nitrogen to hydrogen in the compound will always be the same, 14 to 3. Yes, and this is seen in all the compounds existing naturally or even artificially. But when these laws were put forth in the form of theories, proving them was quite a concern. All these explanations that we know now are due to experiments performed for many decades. Several scientists came up with many experiments and explanations. Among all, a notable theory by the name Dalton's atomic theory surfaced as an answer to many of these questions. The theory was put forth by the English chemist and physicist John Dalton. Watch the next video to
I'm sure students you must have understood the concept of law of constant proportion. So now in the next video let us continue with this atom, okay, the size of the atom, mass of the atom, and also about the valency. So let us continue in the next video.